you feeling in comparison to Saturday, Sunday?
Saturday, yeah. No, I'm feeling amazing, and it was such an incredible experience. Should we tell the story or no?
Absolutely. I think this is important because you've gained so many insights, and yeah, I would love to hear everything.
So, um, I had this dream. I woke up Saturday, I had had a dream, and I realized I was dreaming in human design. My consciousness was watching the dream, and I realized I was dreaming in human design. So I called Corinda to share with her my dream, and that I was dreaming in human design. And um, then I, was telling her how I was feeling because um, I was really at a low, real low. And I it was it was challenging for a lot of reasons, but one of the biggest reasons was I had a period of about 17 years where I had lows like this, and it was one of the hardest parts of my life. And to be in the depth of that low was really challenging. And so I'm sharing all this with Corinda, and she says, "You're in the low of the emotional wave." And that was so affirming and amazing. And what was interesting about this time is that I was, as I was I was literally just standing there at my kitchen island bar or whatever, and looking out, and I was just telling Corinna what I felt like, how low I felt, and what my mind was doing. All my mind was shooting me, you should do this, you should go exercise, you should go outside, you should go for a walk, you should go read something, you should go listen to one of those videos, you should. My mind was shooting me to death, and I had no energy. And I was watching that, like I was just watching all the little tricks my mind was trying to use to guilt me into doing something that I didn't have the energy to do. And I was describing all of that to Corinna, just listening it all as it happened, just observing it all. And what was so powerful was that I could remember, when it happened before to me, that it was this problem that I needed to fix. Like, what's wrong with me? Why are you feeling like this? You have a good life. Why, what is the problem? And then I'd research hormones and I'd take supplements. Like, it was something to be changed, that it was a wrongness. And I had to work to get myself back into rightness. Whereas Saturday, knowing that this is the emotional wave, it's not a wrongness, that throughout my life I might get to this emotional low, and it's not anything to be fixed, that I'm not wrong, that there's nothing wrong and there's nothing to be fixed. And to be able to watch the shenanigans of my mind from the observer's perspective, just watching all the mind gymnastics of, you know, and not getting sucked into any of that, just being with that. And then we talked for a while, and Corinna was great, um, walking me off the ledge and when we finished talking, we were messaging on WhatsApp and stuff. I just asked my body, what do you have the energy to do? What do you have the energy to do? And Corinda had sent me during the week this astrology video, which can you tell everyone? I can't hear you.
From Steve Judd.
And he was talking about consciousness and definitions and word etymology, and it was really powerful. And he was tying it to planets, and I had listened to it during the week, and when I asked my body, what is it that you would you have the energy to do, I on my inner screen I saw his face in that video, and I thought, I have the energy to watch a 12-minute video that's, you know, doesn't require much of me, you know. So I came down to here to my office and I listened to the video and I took notes, and that finished. And then I asked myself, what do you have the energy to do, body, right now? What do you have the energy to do? And I used my Karen Curry Parker, I hope it came through, her human
Workbook.
design workbook frequently. And the channels are not indexed with page numbers, and they're in an order that doesn't work. You know, like I'm constantly having to look for the channel that I'm looking for. And I thought, oh, I have the energy to index the channels. So I just sat here with my book, and if it was like the 515 channel, I went to the page where the 5 is and the page where the 15 was, and I put 515 channel and the page number. So it was indexing my workbook. Mindless doesn't really take any energy, right?
Right.
And also a bit meditative, you
Right.
know.
Get your
Um,
mind off of things, so to speak. Get your mind off that wave and off that rambling in your head.
mhm.
Yeah.
So I finished that, and I have that book in I finished at the 64. The last one that I did was the 64, which is the page right before she goes into her um, uh, workbook analysis, where you say, she has a little um, thing, I powerfully and passionately declare that my life purpose is to, and then, she goes through all the planets, and it's basically, this is what the planet does, and this is what my particular gate is. So I thought, I've been wanting to do it like that for a while, and I started, and then I was like, I really want to dive down into my line numbers in this way, in this format, not kind of randomly. I'm looking, I'm guided to look here. So I just started doing this. And I ended up working on that project and being here in my office for over 8 hours. And I had, even though I could feel my emotional wave, I just wasn't fighting it. I was just like, okay, it is what it is. This is what my body has the energy to do. I'll just do it. So I worked for, when I kind of was like, I'm tired now. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to just go lay down and watch something on Netflix. So I went upstairs and did just that. And Trey came home and we went for a walk, and we were able to talk about it because um, my waves before were so intense that, in that earlier part of my life, I feel like this was the most intense part of that life experience where I'd have those emotional waves was probably it ended kind of right before I went onto the roof. It's
Mhm.
probably at, most of that, my adult life, like from my 20s to say 35, 37, right in there.
Yeah.
But by the end of that range of time, I literally, at some point, when I would start to feel that, I would literally see on my inner screen the matrix open up and this black hole appear. Like literally, I can see the matrix sometimes. And and then it would just make this big hole. And that big black hole was like sucking me in.
Right.
It was like a magnet field, that just pulled me in. And we realized, that if I just talked to Trey about it, like I could be driving. A lot of times the Matrix thing would open up while I was driving. And um, one day Trey just said, call me. If you see that Matrix open up and the black hole's sucking you in, call me. So I just started calling him. And we realized through that experiment was that if he just talked to me and didn't let, he would literally stop what he was doing and he would talk to me until the Matrix closed.
Wow.
And, as I'm describing it to you now, and I'm thinking, in the context of me thinking about this very low emotional wave that I was going through, um, it was like that, a wave of energy and then a wave of energy. And I could describe to him exactly how it felt, like how intense it was, how close, it would like literally suck my consciousness. And sometimes I'd be like, I'm right on the edge, like I'm trying with all my might not to get sucked into this. So when he came home, he goes, do you want to go for a walk? And I was like, yeah. So we go for this walk, and I was telling him, I had this experience with the wave, and Corinda, you know, talked to me, which was really helpful. And, how we talked about it really being the emotional wave and my new awareness of this is not something to fix. It's just a part of who I am. It's going to happen my whole life. And I don't have to, there's nothing to fix.
Right.
And God, I think part of my tears are just grieving the person for so long who thought she was wrong, you know, and how many people who don't understand human design face the same thing. And they just feel themselves as a wrongness instead of this is how my electromagnetics work.
Right.
They're not broken.
But it's actually something beautiful. Life without these feelings, I almost feel is empty, you know.
Yeah, so it was so powerful for both of us to really talk about how,
Yeah.
what a different experience.
Yeah.
And then so what was also interesting was I know my field was huge because we were walking and it was almost dark. I mean, it was like the last little bit of light. And we're in this big forest that our driveway goes through, and we're walking up the driveway, and we usually walk up the driveway and it's really long, and then we go down the road a ways, and then we come back to our house through these trails that are through this magnificent forest. And so we're walking up the driveway, and I looked over to the forest where we usually walk, and I said, let's not walk in the forest today, it's not safe. And he looks over at the forest and he goes, it's safe, I'm with you, I got you, don't worry about it. I'm like, it's not safe, let's not go today. And I said, we can just walk up and down the driveway. Why do we have to go in the forest? We can see the driveway. It's safe. Let's not go on. But he insists. And so we walk up the driveway, and Astro, our dog, who says hi every now and then, he's the color of wood.
Right. Yeah, I know.
So the closer we got to the street, he went on the street, and we're just talking, and the next thing we know, we hear a screeching, and a car door open, and this girl goes, oh my god, oh my god. And Trey starts running, I really think the car hit Astro, but um, thank goodness he
He's
was
alive.
okay. He came running right to Trey.
Oh my gosh.
I've already ordered him um a vest that is, you know, light reflecting.
Yes.
But it was really powerful too, because then Trey and I had a conversation about this happens all the time. Like I'll say something like that and I don't really, it just flies out of me. Like I'm not,
Right.
I don't have any motivation. It's just that that just,
It's a
I
feeling
never
that you
thought
have.
that.
Right.
Yeah. But there's my body knowing, my field is so
Right.
huge that my body was knowing there's a car coming down the street here. It's not safe to walk on the
Right.
street. Not because it's the woods and it's dark, but
Oh, it
because
was.
this car
Yeah.
is not going to see Astro. And it was a perfect opportunity for us to, we've talked about it before, but never in the truth of the moment. And so this time he really heard me. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about. This stuff flies out of me all the time. And you say no and
Right.
don't listen. And he
Right.
goes, I get it. I get it. I get it.
From
Okay.
this
So,
moment on, he's gonna listen to you.
yeah. Because I don't know. I didn't, like human
Right.
Simone didn't know the car was coming down the
No.
street. I didn't hear it. We're walking through a forest, it's,
Right. It's also
So
because of your open G. This open G is so um sensitive to environment. You were sensing the environment and it was not okay for you. Yeah.
it
Wow.
wasn't okay.
Right.
So Sunday, I got up. I was still in the low, still didn't have much energy. And I asked my body, what would you like? What do you have the energy for today? Not making myself a wrongness. Just embracing this is what it is. And, I'm going to ride out this emotional wave in the best way that I can and talk to my body. And my body said, oh, I want to work on the workbook exercise. So I came back down and I think I was here in my office for 10 hours. Like just timelessness, just sitting here. And it was mind blowing to me um, to really dig in through with a lot of focus on line using the Rave Line Companion, not just generalities
Right.
about my,
That-
really digging deep into the lines, but um,
Yeah. And you sent
but
me that whole doc. I have it open here. I was even wondering, would you like to share it? Or would you like to talk
sure,
about it, what you found? What were the
yeah,
most
I mean the big discoveries, y'all, were how many line fours I have. I have a lot of line. I think I have 6 line 6s and 6 line 4s right about there. It's the most I have. But I was really kind of in general, a big thing was how many line fours are like there's a projection field related to the line four and what that means, which was a big discovery for me. But also the biggest one that I feel like was as life changing as the experience of the emotional wave is a rightness, not a wrongness.
right.
It's an alignment, not a not alignment. Was my unconscious Mercury, um, which is my divine feminine, is 18.4. So it's 18.4.1.6.2. So if you want to know line, color, tone, base, it's 4162. What I was really driving into was the line four. I mean, we can talk about it in terms of base too, because that's my home base, my design sun. So it's the what else is possible kind of okay with binaries. But that is, in general, when you read about the 18, it's about correction, working on what's been spoiled. That's the big themes. Seeing patterns that need correcting and waiting for the right timing and circumstances to align. And it's trusting your intuition of what needs to be corrected and waiting for the readiness of others before I share, which is tied to the dream that, oh my gosh, because y'all, in the dream I shared with Corinda, there were 2 scenes. And in the first scene, I was in the not self. People weren't having it. And in the second scene, I was in the self. And
if you would like, I can, when I edit, I can put it in if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. I don't mind. I think if it's helpful to people to hear,
Right.
how I dreamed in human design.
Well, maybe it's cool because we're talking about what happened after the dream and what happened, all the things you became aware of. It was like a mind-blowing weekend for you, or last few days, right?
All through the emotional way.
Yeah.
Which could have been, completely different, because I could have gone into wrongness and,
right.
Not self. So, but in the line companion, and again, I was using the rave line companion. It's about the incompetent, the nature to externalize and be fixed on a specific aspect. It's difficulties as a result of inadequacy.
Wow. Yeah.
That can't be resolved because of the inadequacy. It's generally there will be something they want to correct in their life, but they can't because they're inadequate.
Great. Wow. Yeah.
And when they connect with someone with the 48, sister friend over there.
Yeah, and the same for me. I have the 18 in my Pluto, and you also have the 48. So again.
They relieve the inadequacy. The fear of inadequacy is in the 48, which is the next step in the stream. The 4th line, so now we're digging right, we've moved from the gate, now we're really digging into the line, y'all, is looking for potentials, the potential for awareness. The awareness alone always has the possibility to come into contact with the necessary depth, but because of the feeling of inadequacy, it's a challenge.
Right. Yeah, I feel that.
All lines can be mirrors of what they say. Detriment is the 4th line. Indecision and anxiety, and no escape from misfortune.
No escape from misfortune. Wow.
Can't escape the contrast anxiety of inability to correct the one thing. So people with this, the 18.4, there's something in your life you can't change, no matter how much pressure you apply, no matter how smart you are, no matter what your network is, you are inadequate to change this. Y'all, mine is weight. Weight. And to see that one thing you can't fix as isolated from the rest, which you can work with. You can change all the other stuff. That's the one thing. So then this is a special one. You know how in the line companion he has things, and it's either red, blue, or another color. This was in the blue color.
Yeah, it's a lifelong lesson, so to speak. I have a lot of blue lines. That's why I know.
Lifelong lesson.
Lifelong lessons. Yeah.
Lifelong. The inability to correct and its potential suffering, or the demands of correction and its potential to generate anxiety. The ability to recognize incompetence everywhere because they know what it is like for them. And he gives the example of, oh my God, these poor people. and then the compassion that and Ra encourages us to be in, the compassion of the line that springs forth from the well of personal inadequacy and the anxiety that comes from that. So, weight issues have been the one thing for me.
And that has been your whole life?
Since I was 18, 19. It's been like this.
Yeah.
But by myself, I could never, even when I was young, I would have to go on some program or go to a doctor. I'd have to get help because I could not shift it on my own, no matter what I did. No matter what. And so, reading that, I threw out the paddle. I've said for a really long time, my goal is to just eat well, to eat high quality food, and to eat what my body is showing me that it wants to eat, and to watch my portion size. And I felt like, it would balance out if I just had that be my focus, health, balance. But it hasn't. And
yeah. We
it has
even
been.
talked about it in our last call. And I don't know, something inside me just made a jump, like, hey, we've talked about it, how we were perceiving because of the conditioning about the way we look, and that when you are in alignment, that this is just your natural weight. And I'm feeling now that this 18 is telling you again, like, it's okay to be you. The weight is not an issue. You're eating, to your PHS, and you're keeping an eye. You're aware and conscious of what you're eating. You're eating high vibrational food. So everything is perfect for you, right?
Yeah. And so if we think about the mechanics of what kind of like transpired, so I
Right.
have this human design contrast dream, not self, and
Yeah.
my consciousness is narrating the whole thing, like, oh, this is you living your projector self, you're, like. And then I woke up to an emotional low that I haven't felt in probably 10 years. And instead of going to wrongness, I go to rightness. Okay, this is just my design, my electromagnetic. And then talking to my body, what do you want to do? Asking my body, what do you have the energy to do today? What do you want to do? And just surrendering, right?
Right.
And in that surrender, I do more work for myself, than like concentrated, like deep focus.
Yeah.
And from that deep focus, this magic happens from the stillness.
Yes.
It was no, I have to go do this. It was really just like, body, what do you want to do? Like, just show me the way. Body, show me the way. I'll do whatever it is. Just complete surrender to that.
Mm.
And then, this is a puzzle my whole life since I'm 18, 40 something years.
Yeah.
And now I can just let it all go. Just like,
Yeah.
letting go the pressure of having to fix the emotional wave, not knowing, why I'm letting that go. And then now I can let go this whole, I'm never going to fix my weight.
Right.
Never,
There's
ever.
nothing to fix.
There's nothing to fix.
Right.
It is, I'm going to weigh what I weigh.
Exactly.
And it's not going to have anything to do with what anybody says or a program, or
Right.
it's not going to have any relationship to what I eat or what I don't eat.
Oh. Oh. Yeah.
But that through that challenge, I have great compassion.
For everybody who's struggling with it. Yeah.
Or struggling with anything,
Right. Yeah.
And that's my divine feminine. So that was huge. And I mean, if I just had that one aha, I feel like it would be huge. I feel like I got, I have one key that's 3 times in my field. The 60, the 60, and then what is my Pluto? 43 times Pluto and unconscious moon. So I have 340. So I spent a bit of time with
That's
the
important.
40.
And you were just talking about it. It's that surrender to the divine will.
Yeah.
And you have it in an open ego center. So it's not always there. And you get the information from other people about what willpower is. But it's
Right.
mostly about not doing and only doing what you love doing. Yeah.
And when you drill down, so I have 40.3 and I have twice and then 40.5 once. So my unconscious moon is 40.3. Unconscious Pluto is 40.3. So big line for me in terms of soul level consciousness, and then in the body, and then 5. So when you drill down, when I drop down to the 3, and also he talks about in the line companion, if you have Pluto exalted, it's even more intense. And I have Pluto exalted. So,
Okay.
people, it's like a thumb is on it. It's like, okay, not just that, but that.
The button is always on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3 times and the thumb is on it.
Good luck.
Good luck. So in the line companion, what stuck out for me is, okay, so the theme is humility. And it's a calculated mode in deliverance to avoid attracting the attention of negative forces, adaptation, humility to be in the aloneness to not attract negative forces, exalted, the subtlety to enjoy deliverance without having to flaunt it, enjoy your quiet time without having to use willpower.
Yeah.
And let's see, emotional will reflect back twice as strong. Don't go looking for a full cup from an open emotional person to fill your own if you are in the sad part of the wave. So that for me, how did I put that together? So in my moon, I have conscious moon 14.6. So my statement was, my heart and soul are driven. My heart and soul are driven because the moon is what drives us.
Right.
By my 14s, knowing that I have everything I need and people will show up. And my 40s will or lack of will to provide for the needy and the ability to retreat when needed, avoiding negative forces or flaunting my own willpower. So that is so intrinsic in me. I mean, anybody who's known me, I do feel like I have everything I need and that people always show up. And even with my clients, because I might not have clients for 2 weeks, but then I feel like, what's interesting is this. So I was on vacation. I was gone for almost 3 weeks. I come home and I am slammed. I have client after client after client after client after client. And then the next week, it was just kind of an average week with clients, whatever. And then I have this big emotional wave over the weekend. And this week, I hardly have any clients, just a few, my regular clients. And they're not till the end of the week.
Right. It's like you already created space for yourself, or
My
the
body
divine
just,
will created space for you. Yeah.
and anybody who's worked with me or collaborated with me knows I don't get stressed about the flow. I know that the universe is always providing for me.
Right.
It's always about divine timing. And I don't know
Yeah.
what that is. I may not know what that is or why, but I just kind of go with it. I'm like, when I don't have clients in a, many clients in a week, I just go, okay, well, my body must want to rest that week, or, you know,
Yeah.
it's not, but I don't,
You
I
don't
always
worry.
just
Mm.
trust. There's no
Right.
worry there, stress about that. So, um, and I actually feel like I'm supposed to be a role model in terms of that, knowing, trust in the universe. My Pluto statement, because that will kind of encompass the 40.5 and the 40.3, was Karen takes you through your whole chart, and the Pluto is the last one. And so I will learn these lessons through cycles of my 40s wisdom, that liberation requires rejecting negative forces by determining what others actually want, through my humility to deliver what's needed by enjoying quiet time without flaunting it. So for me, that just means that my 40 is going to. This is so funny. When I got to Pluto, so I'm going to tell you a story. This is a funny story. So I know when I was learning this, like, really deeply. So, and it happens to me a lot, because it used to happen to me a lot, because, somebody would ask me, and I wasn't in the truth of my emotional wave. So people would ask me, hey, do you want to do this? Or can you do this? Or would you do this? Whatever. And I would just say, yeah, because yes was my favorite word.
Right.
So conditioned. So we had these friends, and took me forever, because I was in such innocence, and just in, she would call me and say, hey, what are you doing? And I'd be like, oh, nothing, just, not even thinking, oh, nothing. And then the next thing you know, I'd be roped into doing some
Something for her.
thing that I didn't want to do. So, there were two incidences where I really, the universe was teaching me. And one of them was, I think this was the last one. So she called me, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, nothing. What are you doing? And she was like, oh, if you're not doing anything, can we bring grandma over? Grandma was her mother. Her
Right.
mother was about to die on oxygen, and, like, literally just, able to lay on the sofa, right?
Right.
Barely, eating, just really the end of life. And I already said I wasn't doing anything. But the truth was, I was going on a horseback ride that day with my
But you
friend.
just forgot in a moment.
Well, I wasn't doing anything in that moment,
Right.
but I had
Right.
a horseback
Yeah.
ride, in,
Right.
in 2 hours, and I was going to be going riding my horse. So I was going on a long ride, probably about 4 hours with my friend. So I said to her, okay, I'm going on a ride in a couple hours. Oh, that's okay. She'll be fine on your sofa.
Right. Oh no.
It was like a Saturday or something, and Trey was home, and he was going to be working in the yard. So I go outside and I go, they're bringing grandma over, and I'm going on a ride. I'm not canceling my ride. I need to go on my ride. He goes, that's okay. Grandma will be fine on the sofa. So they bring grandma. We get the ox
Right.
all set up. It's time for me to leave on my ride. And so I go, and I walked outside. I had Biscuit all saddled up, and Trey's in the side yard. And Corey, my friend, and we walk our horses to the front. And I'm sitting on Biscuit. Biscuit was almost 17 hands. He was a tall horse, big barrel chested horse. And I looked down at Trey and I said, do not let on the sofa. Oh, I'm like, set a timer, go check on grandma
Every 30 minutes.
every hour. So off Corey and I go, and I'm just like, let it go. You can't change any of it.
No.
You need to go on the run. So off we go. We ride for about 4 hours. We come home. We had this long driveway, and we're walking up the driveway, and I can see him. Suddenly, yeah, he used to wear this big sun hat. I see the hat go up. He jumps up, running to the house, and like,
Forgot to check on
walk Biscuit down to the corral, and I come back up, and he's back in the, like he's coming out of the house. He's going back to his. I'm like, is she dead or what? Like, no, she's fine. And I'm like, you didn't check on her one time, did you? He goes,
forgot.
I'm not getting roped into any more grandma duty.
Right.
So I realized that when my friend called me and she said, hey, what's doing? It wasn't just a casual, hey, what are you doing? It was a trap.
Right.
So I started asking, what do you want?
Right.
Why are you asking?
Yeah.
What do you want? And that's part of the 40.5 in terms of the line number. It's about rigidity, is people seeing me as rigid, because to achieve my rest, all negative forces must be rejected. Right. So the negative force is just not knowing what people need from me. Right. So learning to ask, well, why do you ask? Or what is it that you need? Or, and I've gotten better about that in my life, and now I understand why that's important.
Right.
Because people are not always upfront.
No.
They don't just say, hey, I really need help. Can you help me?
Right.
And then be okay with, yes, I have the energy to help you, or no, I'm sorry, I can't.
Right.
But, this manipulation into.
Yeah. I'm also feeling you're 29 in this, the gate of saying yes and no, and having it hit open as well. I'm hearing them talking to each other, like if the 40 says yes, the 29 says yes, or the other way around. But they weren't feeling each other. They were not communicating. Like your 29 was saying no and your 40 was saying yes. And that's how you got to learn it. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the purpose of our conversation, if you're following along, my 29 is my unconscious north node. So it's where I'm going. I wasn't there yet. I wasn't living my north node. Yeah. I was still in my south node, Yeah. So my north node, 29.3, the line companion shows us evolution properly assessed in action. Properly assessed in action.
Right.
Learning from experience when to jump in.
Right. How perfect. How perfect.
And it was so fascinating, even like in my life's purpose, I'm 5.4, is all about the courage, is all about knowing what's the right timing for me. It's about knowing when, I love this. So I'm going to just share it. So 5.4, y'all, line companion, the hunter. So think about hunters, right? When they, back in the day, hunter-gatherers, they had to sit in the forest and know when to pull the bowstring, right? Throw the axe, or
and when to hunt, which times, which seasons, for whatever animal, or even for fruit, going for fruit, knowing the natural rhythms. Yeah.
So waiting is a guarantee of survival. And it's about knowing, if I live my fixed rhythms, I'll survive.
Yeah.
I'll have the energy. So I didn't fully understand this. He says, this is not the love of the body, but the love of humanity. I guess it's, if you're in charge of feeding the people of your tribe, you better
Know the
be
cycles,
sure
right?
you're in the right cycle and know what to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
Um, if you move out of the impatience and pressure and break natural rhythm and live in another rhythm, survival is threatened. You
Yeah.
become ill. Through the fourth line, the need to express that fixed rhythm as a contribution to the totality of humanity, the power to make the best out of one's fixed rhythm, and to make sure there is no one around you trying to pull you out of your fixed rhythm. Because if you allow people to pull you out of your rhythm, you pay the price.
Yeah.
So I feel like for me, I've lived this, especially as I work with other clients, in this part of my life. So I don't want to really do a session before 9 o'clock, because my best life is awakening without
Whenever.
an alarm
Right.
clock. Just
Yeah.
when does my body want to arise?
Yeah.
And usually it's before 9 o'clock. So,
Yeah.
it's usually by 8:30 I'm awake, but sometimes it's 9. But 9 o'clock for me is as early as I want to start working with other people.
Yeah.
And just even the knowledge that I don't want to set an alarm clock in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have that 5.4 in my North Node. And the funny thing is that, I say in my first part of my life, and now I'm living in my second part, and my third part is going to be about in 2 years. But I feel like I was in that going, really that manifesting generator rhythm. I did too much, too long, waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning. First, it was to go to school because I was living like 1.5 hours to 2 hours away from where I was studying in Rotterdam. And I had to go by bus and then the metro and then another bus. So I was waking up at 6 or at 5 sometimes because, hair and makeup. And when the school was done, it would be like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then you had to eat, and then I would have to go do my homework, but also, do workout or do my ballet or my basketball that I did. And then in the weekends, I was already working. It was always going. And then when I almost feel like when I transitioned from my North Node, or from my South Node to my North Node, was when I got my burnout at 42. And now I don't set it like you, I don't set an alarm clock. I wake up. Most of the time it's 3 times now that I wake up because of the hormones and stuff. But I wake up when I wake up. And some days I look at my clock when I wake up for the third time or something. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. And I go like, yay, got some more hours. So I'm really listening to my body when to go to sleep, when I feel tired and when I wake up. And I love it to just eat when I want to eat. So sometimes Hans wants to go from his office home, so he gets his little break and eat with me. But inside of me, and we talk about it, so I can share it, I sometimes say that he is intruding my own timeline, so to speak, my own natural flow of when I feel hungry or not. Because sometimes I don't feel hungry until 2 in the afternoon. And sometimes I feel hungry at 11 in the morning. So yeah, I love
That
to
is
have that own flow for doing what I feel like my body wants to do. Yeah.
the same thing. I mean, I cooked for my family. We had dinner every night together. And even after our boys left, I made dinner and it was ready when Trey got home from work and we ate together. And now I might eat my main meal of the day at 4:30 in the afternoon,
Right.
because that's when I'm hungry. But what I have tried to do is, even if I eat my main meal, then Trey will come in and make his supper, and I'll sit with him and chat with him.
Right. Right. I
You
sometimes
know,
do that with the lunch as well. I say, yeah, I already ate, but I will sit with you. Yeah.
yeah. And that's just as pleasant for me and for him, because it's the time together,
Right.
and
Yeah.
We don't have to be eaten. But yeah, I mean, so much of what other, timing things. When I had knee replacement, I had been a dean for 2 years. And then being a dean in a college meant that I had not a whole lot of control over my schedule. Yeah, I could say, yeah, this time or that time. But there were times where I had to be in the community for, say, a breakfast at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And I lived 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
So, dress, hair, makeup,
Right.
45-minute drive to, there were days I was waking up at 5 o'clock,
Yeah.
because I had to get, so it was 2 years of that. I loved being a dean because as a projector, I was guiding people, but that job took me out of the rhythm of my own life and put
Right.
me into the rhythm of, and there were days where I might have to go to a school for their parent teacher conference and, um, have a presence for the college, or I had to go to meetings a lot at night. And then it started to be, community members who were high, elected officials or whatever, who were involved with the program. They might say, let's have coffee on Saturday, so it was kind of like, I didn't in that 2 years, I really gave up, my five
Right.
and the natural rhythms. And I ended up with knee replacement. That's how I,
Yeah.
went back to faculty and where I had control over my schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
powerful.
yeah, absolutely. And Ra also talks about the North Node and South Node more as a whole. And I remember in that part, he says that what I'm supposed to see here are people that are not waiting and they're just doing. And I can confirm that I see the pace of the world. Like I see the people, and most of them even come to me that they are stressed and that they're feeling that they're doing that something is off, so to speak. And then I talk to them, and then I can see their patterns. So I see that they take too much. Um, they want too much control in their life, and they want to do this and they want to do that, and there's no more time for themselves. So the first thing I advise them then to do is like, can you create space for yourself for 2 hours this week? And they
Yeah.
go like, yeah, well, no, but yes, but and I go like, if you even can't make 2 hours just for you. And then even today I had one and she said, but what am I going to do in those 2 hours? And I said, well, that's up to you. You're going to ask yourself, like, what do you want to do? Maybe you want to take a nap. Maybe you want to watch Netflix. Maybe you want to do some running. Maybe you want to go into the forest, or maybe you just want to read a book, whatever. But it's just 2 hours without anybody. But a lot of people are not making the space for themselves. Also, well, mostly also related to money, because they feel like, yes, but I have to make more money. And then I say, like, but can you do, the way that I put it is, in Dutch, we have a different word for it. So I'm trying to see if I have two words for money, but it's about making money has a cost. Maybe that's the best translation. So is it worth it to make so many hours for this amount of money, or can you do without, with lesser money, but have more space for yourself? What's more important?
What's more important?
And that's always a choice. Yeah, but I have to pay this and I have to pay that. No, you can do with less. We can do with, so, I love my beautiful stuff. You love your beautiful stuff. But I also know, because of the period that I didn't have money for so many years, there are so many creative ways to have a beautiful home. Of course, you have to have the necessities. You have to eat, you have to have a living and such. But I'm talking about the luxury that we feel like we have to have these days. Like everybody has to have the beautiful car, the best new telephone, the best new computer, the best whatever's. But we don't need a lot of those things. It's programmed in us to buy this or to have that. And if you don't have this, then you don't count. Proving yourself, what is your worth?
I mean, I I'm so with you, because there, for me, what you're speaking to is abundance.
True. Yeah.
And I feel like I live an extraordinarily abundant life. Now, some people might look at my life and go, "Really?" Because I don't own the home I live in now. I rent a home. I don't want to own a home. I don't want to have to do that, because abundance for me is not having to spend energy when things break down.
Right.
I don't want to have to problem solve. I don't want to have to fix anything. I don't want to have to be here for a repairman. I love when something goes wrong, I just text my landlord, "Hey, this is broken."
Fix it. Yeah.
She is
Right.
consumed in that. Other people want to do something else, but
Right.
for me, I see it as an abundance to be able to live in a beautiful place, stress free. That creates space for me.
Right.
You know, or I remember when Trey and I had barely 2 cents to rub together. We had our kids to feed, and I always had fresh flowers in my home. Why? Because I had scoped out flowers growing in shopping centers. So I would go at night and I would just cut some.
You naughty girl.
Put them in a vase.
Right. Beautiful. Yeah.
You know, I didn't have to go buy the bouquet.
Exactly.
I could have flowers. I figured it out. Like, you know, what is abundance to you?
Right.
You know, I think there are so many ways to live an abundant life. And it really is a feeling within, I feel like.
Absolutely. I even feel it's a mindset. It's a perspective. It's the way we deal with adversity. It's all in your own spirit, so to speak. You know, it's hard. Yeah, there is always like this duality within this conversation, because if people go through a lot, you know, it's they say it's easy for us to speak on abundance because we're not going through it. But because I went through several of those deep points in my life where I was like, what the? You know, I know that if I had a different mindset, if I knew what I know now, I would have dealt with the situations way differently, and it would be way easier on me to cope with them. And that's what I always hope. Yeah, it's a perfect word for it. Always hope when I talk to people that are going through situations that I've already been through, or what I have heard from other people. You know, I speak to a lot of people, and I hear what their solutions were or how they dealt with it, and then combining it with my own experience. I offer them hope by sharing my experience and offering another way of perceiving things. Like even last week, I had a conversation here in a store with somebody I know, and she went through a lot the last couple of months. And then I said, but well, maybe, you know, I offered another perspective, and then she, several of them, and then she texted me via Instagram, like, thank you so much for offering another way to look at the situation. It was giving her hope. Like, oh, there's another way to deal with things that are happening right now in my life. Wow, I just came to this awareness, so I'm glad I'm sharing it. Yeah.
No, it's true. It's because abundance really truly is consciousness for me. You know, it's like, and I mean, I'm saying this, y'all, and I have made some choices from fear. Were the worst decisions of my life.
Right.
Well, how do you learn that's a bad decision? By making some bad decisions.
Right. Yeah.
You know, making fear-based decisions never turned out for me.
Right.
In the moment, it seemed like that was my only option. That wasn't my only option. It was the only option I could see. I didn't have somebody challenging me to say, hey, is this another option? But I needed to make those fear-based choices so that I could see, oh, that's not the way to make a choice.
Right. Isn't this the perfect way of showing our third line experience? and now sharing it with our sixth line perspective, like it's in retrospect that we can share what we've been through, how we've dealt with it, and then making a mistake is okay. It's the experience that we learn from. And then the next time when we become aware of it, become conscious of it, we can make a different choice next time.
Absolutely. It keeps running through my mind, so I'm going to just bring it up because it's kind of weaving through the back of our conversation today. And I just wanted to say thank you because you have helped me to understand, the six line trajectory of living the 3, going on the roof, coming off the roof. And I read that and it really didn't feel a part of me like cellular knowing. It's something you said in the last week or two really helped me to contemplate that journey and then doing this. And I can see that how the first part of my life was at line 3,
trial and error, bumping into
trial
things,
and error,
making mistakes, right?
And I look back on that part of my life and it actually was a really fun time because I had my boys, I had children so young that, and they both talk. So from the time they were 4 and 5, 5 and 6, they were my comrades in arms. We did everything together, and then by the time they're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I look like their sister. People would all the time say, and we were together so much because in that Trey was gone a lot, he worked away. Right. So it was me and my boys and we were a little unit, right. And, when you're with kids and you screw up, you laugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? So many things to do, right? Yeah.
Right. So even though that time of my life had a lot of ups and downs and I made a lot of mistakes, I was doing it with 2 beings I adored and who were my BFFs, right. They were also my kids. But they were who I had and they're my little tribe, which is perfect for a line 2 culture.
Yeah.
But then there was this part of my life where I had, by that time I was a department head. I only had to teach 3 classes. I was teaching those online. I had complete control over my day. I would get up, I'd meditate. This is when I was on the roof. I had really gone internal. I had probably, I don't know, 10, 15 years of this life where I had constructed that, my favorite thing to do was to get home on Thursday and not have to leave until Monday or Tuesday. I was in my womb and I was so focused on my internal journey and my spiritual process. I feel like that was my roof.
Right.
And then there was something you said and it really helped me. And it was that something you said combined with something that was in this thing that I did, which was that when you come off the roof, you live in life for yourself. And you're living your design. So you're a role model because you're living your design.
Right.
And that inspires other people. You're not doing it to inspire any, you're just
being you. Yeah.
Right. And this part of your life is like the cream. It's like, for me anyway, maybe not for others, but it's like, oh, it's true. I get to live my life for me. All the choices that I'm making are for me.
Right.
And I'm having a blast. And I'm deconditioned enough to know that I don't have to self-sacrifice, to ask the person, what is it that you're really asking me? What is it that you want? Right. And using my body to know, oh yeah, that's right for me or not right for me, and having the courage to say, yeah, no, thanks. It's not a yes, so it's a no.
Right. Or not now.
Not now. And to not feel guilty of of
Yeah.
that. And then to do this exercise where so much of my design is about timing, it's about protecting my energy, it's about knowing who to say yes to and who to say no to, or how to discern that. It's about protecting my energy. I was kind of blown away by how many of the different activations were the same
That
theme,
message, right.
variations on a theme,
Right.
variations on a couple of themes. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about how the emotional wave, you said something, and it was like, oh, yeah, well, my emotional wave put me into stillness because I didn't have the energy to go out. And then asking my body what it wanted to do. And then it was this deep contemplation and real silence,
Right.
And then the magic that comes from that stillness.
I feel that, like, I believe you have the 9 in your sacral as well, right? So I almost feel like that 9 was saying, I want to go now. I have the energy to focus. It's so fun how that 952 works, or even one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had even talked about this when we were going back and forth on Saturday, and I was like, I feel like my sacral, all my hanging sacral gates are like,
Pick me, pick me.
and then you said, oh, it's kind of like what Randy said in his interview with Richard Beaumont. No, they activate themselves
Right.
when.
Yeah. When you're listening to your inner authority. That's what I got from his share. Yeah, absolutely. And that fascinated me. And it also gave me hope, like, okay, they're not just dormant gates. They're not just waiting for the transit or waiting for the other person. It's waiting for your inner authority to say, here we go.
You have the energy to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really, I can't remember which one we were looking at, but my 64, another variation on the theme, triumph is inevitable. But this variation of the crystal is when I'm okay with the confusion.
Yeah. And you had confusion on Saturday. That's what I heard from your audio messages. It's like, I can't even explain, but I heard the confusion because your mind was trying to make sense of things while it had nothing sort of to explore, just to sit with it and observe. And then later the epiphany would come, so to speak, or the insights would come. Because you also have that 63, and I believe this the 47 even was activated, so it was creating a channel. So a lot of realizations for you came after. That's so
Totally.
beautiful. And also I shared with you that a lot of extra gates were activated in the solar plexus because I pulled your transit chart. So I was like, okay, I get it. You're being impacted. So that was also like, oh, wow. So even though your center can be defined, when some new energy or maybe foreign energy comes in, it can even amplify new emotional energy and emotional wave. And I know they say it's fixed, but what you shared with me, I was like, no, you're being activated because you have the 35 and normally you don't have the 36. And now it was like there was almost a pressure, from beneath with your desire, the pressure to share with me what you were experiencing. And there was this energy that was able to express in that moment because of the whole definition there up to the throat. And then also that 35, no, the 49, or was it the 39? No, it was the 55 was activated, and I believe the 19 and the 49. There was a lot happening there for
A
you.
lot happening.
Yeah.
And that was another thing. So, in genetic matrix, the Chiron is not shown. It's not, really discussed. But you had sent me that great printout from the Ray body graph, and it had my Chiron. And Karen Curry Parker weaves the Chiron into her workbook exercise.
Yeah.
So my Chiron is 55, 55.3 and 55.4. And when I was doing that, I was like, oh, okay, so I'm bridging the lower trigram and the upper trigram, personal and transpersonal.
Yeah.
And so my statement for my 55 was, I call on these energies, all the energies of my body graph, when I'm in need of great alignment. What was Saturn? Okay, with my purpose, through my 55's ability for spiritual abundance, by honoring the mood, emotional low,
Wow.
trusting that I can create without limitation, and I can assimilate everything in a way that balances energy by finding the people who feel good in my field through my emotional awareness.
Yeah. It's almost like a conclusion of even what I shared with you. Like I was feeling like sad and sorry for you that you were feeling that way. So intense, but I shared it with you like, this is so beautiful. I felt it was so beautiful with you, with your cross of consciousness, being so aware, sitting with it, sharing it with me, observing it, and then everything that came out afterwards. And now you're sharing about that 55, which is like, okay, this is the whole story that we talked about. Yeah.
Yeah. And another blue thing from the line companion, so this is a lifetime thing. He says, the potential spirit that comes when emotional awareness and energy are balanced and principled, or boundless energy that ignores awareness at the risk of spirit. So he kind of gives.
Yeah. Well, because it's even, they say Chiron is also your wound. And when you become aware of it, work with it, it is your greatest teachings and healing for others. When you shared with us, how you experienced the emotional wave when you were younger and the way you were dealing with it now, that is exactly that. It's now your power.
I love also that in the after that statement in the line companion, Ross says, you have a wave of kindness to meanness. Accept that there is happy and sad. Emotionally designed will get back what is put out as the open. And then it comes to dissociation. You see the whole complete circuit you see the whole complete circuit so humanity can be guided. Then he had like history, it relates to history and philosophy. But then it goes back to dissociation is the ability to let go, the ability to walk through the world and be completely disconnected from it. Do we see a theme? Like, again, there's the theme. The ability to go in retreat and enjoy privacy.
You also have the 33, right? It's the 33, 40, and then this. It's all about retreat, surrender, no work.
Yeah. I've always been kind of jealous of people.
And then you,
Person, but I have had like, I wish I was 55, and then there it is. You do have it.
you have
Sometimes
it. Yeah.
couldn't see it or didn't see it or wasn't time to see it, but now you see it, you know.
Right. And the funny thing is, for me, it's my only split. So if I'm not myself, I'm always looking for spirit, abundance, and such. And the funny thing is, I have friends with the 55. So I'm very aware when I'm with them, like, what's different? But it's only different in a way that I observe their victimhood. That's funny, right? What I sense with the people I know that have that 55, and I'm in their presence, I observe what they share, how they be, and there is this form of abundance, but it's like they don't see it or don't appreciate it. And like always stuff happens to them, you know? And again, then I come back to the theme of like, how do we face adversity? Are we being the victim, or are we perceiving like, okay, this is an experience I can learn from? Or what do I have to learn from this experience? Or looking backwards, like, where did I go wrong? Did I go wrong? Or was there something for me just to become aware of? You know? But it's funny that you are bridging my split with your Chiron. Yeah. I have the 39 in my unconscious Mercury. So I'm always provoking the spirit of others.
Always broken. Well, I mean, I can say you do that for me.
I'm sort of not aware of it. So I'm always looking like, okay, when am I provoking? I know I can be a little bit like direct. So, yeah, the
Well,
way you
use look at the waveform of the word provoke, right?
right.
Because provoke to me just means bring awareness, like you're
Right.
poking something so that I can, or the other person can be aware. Now that doesn't mean you're provoking them to have them bust into something. It might happen that if they are
Exactly.
triggered, that they need that trigger.
Yeah, that's what it says also in the book. Like it can be, it can be received good or for bad, but either way, it's what it's here for. Because
Right.
when you trigger somebody negatively, it's good because you poked something.
That ulcer needed to pop. That
Right.
that cyst was ready to drain,
Right.
and have that person look at it. But for me, provoking, when I say, "Will you provoke me?" It's a lot of times it's to contemplate something. It's like to bring my awareness to something that I haven't gotten yet, or that it's right for me to look at in that moment, whether I've gotten it before or haven't gotten it before, but there's some new level of awareness.
Right.
And people are still working through victim energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That might be triggering as opposed to enlightening,
Right.
or maybe enlightening through the triggering. I mean,
Right. Yeah, and the other way around for the 39 is, I believe it's to provoke and to be provoked. And now when you just mentioned that, a memory came back like, I know what victimhood drama doing is because I did that. Like, why is this happening to me again? And it's always happening to me. So I recognize that. And now I just saw in that moment when you shared, I saw that people were provoking me. They were triggering my pain to become aware of, but I wasn't ready yet. So, yeah, thank you for saying that, because now I can remember where that 55 was, that gate in that channel. I don't know, then was it the 39 or was it because I was looking for that 55? I don't know, but I recognize like feeling that victim. And then at some point, making small steps to not become triggered anymore. and to say, I'm not the victim here, because I always have a choice on how to deal with a certain situation or how to perceive a certain situation. Like again, with the Toltec wisdom, it's like, if you don't take anything personal, that makes a huge difference in life. It's not that the other person is doing it to you, but there's something there for you to look at because you let them maybe do something to you. There's always a responsibility in it, right? At
I
least that's,
remember
yeah, what I learned.
when I was working through that energy, victim energy, and um,
Yeah, when you were around 50, when you had your Chiron return, I
mm-hmm,
asked
mm-hmm.
you about it. Can you remember it?
Well, what's coming in what I feel is important to share is that I remember this. I'm consciously working through victim energy, being aware of when I feel like a victim, and then really asking what's underneath this, what's underneath this, what's underneath this, what's underneath this. And most of the time, I would say 95%, 98% of the time, what it was I had self-sacrificed at some point in the past.
Right.
And I was feeling like a victim, but really I was the problem because I had self-sacrificed some point
Yeah,
in
you
the
said
past,
yes where you should have said no.
said yes when I should have
Yeah.
said no. And now I'm resentful because love was transactional. And so the way it was like playing out in my material world was I would be triggered, usually by Trey. He was my big co-creator. And instead of going off on him, I would just say, I'm really angry right now and I'm going to walk away because this is my anger. Like I
Wow.
fully claimed it. I'm angry. I know I'm angry at myself. I'm just going to walk away and go look at what's underneath this. And you see, it was a dynamic between us that had been like a groove worn down. So I wasn't acting like I had in the past, blowing up, blaming him. I was just removing myself from the situation and going in my room and going, why are you really angry?
Right.
Where did you self-sacrifice? What was the choice you made? When did you make it? And I could always get to it. Oh, when I said this and I did this and that cost me that, and now he hasn't done this thing and it's really pissing you off. But it's not pissing you off. It's pissing you off that you self-sacrificed last week.
Right. That's
This is
really
just
underneath it. Yeah.
this is
Wow.
just so it was the like deep mechanics of me unwinding that okay, well, when you self-sacrifice and you say yes when it's a no, that's going to come back and blow
Right.
up. And you had the power to choose no, but you chose to make your life hard, and now you're angry about it. That is not anger at him, that is angry itself. And so then I that's how I really kind of work through that. And that's what's coming up.
Wow. Powerful.
But it would make him angry that I wouldn't get angry with him. Like I just wasn't even engaged. And I think, we've talked about it some, it's been a long time, but I think he was going like, oh shit, she doesn't love me because she's not engaging with me. She's just removing herself from our relationship and going and working on that without me.
Right.
She doesn't need me anymore. It was really scary for him. And he at one point he goes, I hate when you say that. And I'm like, why? I'm cutting you out, like
Right.
you don't have to deal with my anger. It's not your
Right.
anger. It's my
But he
anger.
wanted it because it was a kind of a validation of love for him.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was even
And
thinking, like, what is his motivation? Is it need? That would be funny.
I gotta look it up.
Yeah, I gotta know.
I can't believe I don't have that in my but it must have been because we needed to look it up right this minute. Let's see. Fear.
Oh, fear. Okay.
Maybe he was afraid I'd leave him. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Because I was leaving him. I was leaving the pattern that we had ingrained, that I self-sacrifice and then I get angry at you and it's your fault.
Right.
Because I'm a victim and I couldn't look at it anymore. I had to deal with my own shit.
Yeah.
And I was holding myself accountable. And he's like, oh my God. He was like, really?
Yeah.
He'd come to my room and I'd be like, no, I have walked away. You need to leave because it's not going to be pretty.
Right. No, I'm even thinking of the situation that you shared with me, like when you were tired to go along with something he wanted to do, and that he would, he wouldn't like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's something similar in there. Maybe it has something to do with approval of love for him. Like if you don't have the energy, it means that he thinks that you don't love him anymore, or not enough. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, we've been kind of weaving this through conversations for a while now, and I don't know if I shared with you. I saw this. I think it was Brene Brown, and she articulated something for me, that brought a dynamic for us up, and we talked about it. And it was that she said that people who are married or in relationship have been conditioned to believe that they have to give their 100%. No, we each come with 50%.
Right.
And when she and her husband do this check when they get home every day, what you got?
Like 10% or 90%.
I got, like I only got 30.
Right.
And the other one goes, I can spot you 20. Or okay, I can only spot you 10. Or I don't have anything to spot you today.
Right.
Wow. But they have checked in, and it's not I don't have to give all of me. All I have to do is give 50%. And if I don't have 50% today, I just tell you where I am.
Right.
And then you get to choose if you want to fill in that deficit, right, to get us to 100 or not.
Right.
And then we know where we are. Okay. Yeah. You can go to your room, yeah. Like if we're both at 10% today,
just go apart. Yeah.